Okay, cool. Welcome to the Human Resume podcast, where I share career journeys of some amazing people I know, their hardships, successes, and the things they stumble across along the way. I try and bring out the stories behind their journeys. I'm your host, Surya, and on today's podcast, we have Shravan Murlidaran. Shravan and I met during our graduate studies at UC Santa Barbara back in 2019, where he had come to pursue his PhD in psychology and brain sciences. We spent a lot of time together as roommates talking about life, research, and making and eating dosas. He was truly a brother from another mother. There were so many shared interests, including but not limited to robotics, computer science, and psychology. We will be diving deep into his career choices, his life as a PhD student, and get into the more nuanced side of his life. Hello, Shravan, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Surya. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah. So the podcast, like I have divided into like three main sections. First section is about your life currently as a PhD student at UC Santa Barbara. Then we'll be like turning the timeline a bit back, go back to undergraduation and masters. And then in the end, like ask a little bit about your future plans. And then I have a final like rapid fire, and then we'll wrap it up.
Rapid fire. Wow. Okay.
So that's the idea. So let's get
Okay.
started with the first section. This is where I'll
Okay.
be diving deep into your life as a PhD student at UCSB.
Mm.
So to give everybody some context, you are currently a third year PhD student in UCSB. Can you tell a little bit about what is your PhD about? What is this field that connects psychology and brain sciences? Just give like a high level idea of what it is all about.
Sure. So I'm basically working on human vision. So my entire lab is working on computationally modeling human vision, like how it works, or like how we perceive things, or how we understand things using our eyes. So those are the things that we usually work on. So this connection between the psychology and AI comes in the computational part, right? So we want to know like how humans do this. We want to model them. So we use behavioral studies where we conduct experiments on people, and then we allow them to do some kind of a task, or they see something and do some kind of simple task, behavioral tasks, and then we predict their outcome or something like that, and then we use that to make our own models, and then those models would be something that comes into the computer science part. So we'll have a model, and then we predict their outcomes, and then see how things go. So that's the kind of thing I'm working on.
Okay, cool. So the major area is human vision is what like I kind of uh took out of it, but then you're also like
Yes.
connecting it with psychology and then connecting it with computation. So that's good. Like that gives like a big picture, but to like get a little bit deeper into that specific thing, I I took a phrase from your resume. I like that like research comes with like proper objectives. So it says like study, design, and conduct psychophysics studies with Python on human attention, perception, scene understanding with eye tracker devices. So this seems straight out of like a James Bond movie. So so exactly if you can like take out like some keywords like what is psychophysics, what is scene understanding, what is like eye tracking devices, if you give some idea about all these terms, maybe like we get a better idea of what is your field of
Sure.
study.
Yeah. So psychophysics basically means that, as I said, human behavioral experiments. So when you do some kind of an experiment with a person, and you kind of create these kinds of detection theories, like how they perceive things or how things happen in their surroundings, and you kind of make these behavioral studies. So those comes under something called the psychophysics studies. So the name definitely sounds a lot more cooler than what it actually is, but
Okay.
it's just a way of saying that you're kind of creating a behavioral study where you are trying to get a specific understanding of what how a person does specific things. So especially with vision, you do a lot of these kinds of psychophysics studies. And one more thing is about the eye tracking. So as I said before, my The entire work is based on like trying to understand how people, especially my work in my lab, is on understanding how people view scenes, like natural scenes. So when you're viewing natural scenes, like what happens, like where do you attend in the scene, how do you even perceive things, like you're looking at a specific image and you get to know like what's happening, right? So those are the things that are very natural to us. We don't need to think much about it. But when we think about building this into a machine, it's pretty hard. We don't know, like we have a lot of development and advancements in computer vision. But even now, given a specific scene or a natural scene, or like something going on between two people, some kind of a social interaction that's happening between two people, it's very hard for these machines to grasp these things, right? So but it's very natural to us. We have been trained over our entire life on like how to do these kinds of things. We just get to see something and we know what's happening, and we make our assumptions and judgments very easily. So that is where the scene understanding parts come. So we want to know how people understand scenes. And one way to know where people, how people understand these scenes is to see where they attend to. So as I said before, their attention is something that we can always see as a way to measure what they are trying to grasp or perceive in a scene. So for instance, let's say in a specific scene, there is a bottle, and if people look at a bottle, we can see that we can kind of make an assumption saying that the people are trying to, comprehend what the bottle does in the scene or something like that. I'm just giving you a very broader example.
Yeah.
But you can think it in a more specific sense. Let's say that there are two people in a movie or in a scene, and a specific person is looking at a person, and then we could kind of make an assumption that the people is trying to understand what the person is doing, because that's why they look to him. So one way to understand how or what people perceive in a scene is through eye tracking. So what we
Okay.
do is we track the eyes of people and say that, okay, they looked at these specific locations, which means that these are the locations that are important for them to comprehend what's happening in the scene.
Okay.
So that is where the eye tracking part comes in. So basically, we conduct psychophysics studies to understand how people perceive scene using eye tracking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. It's like a lot of broad areas that are coming together, and I see like you're trying to solve a specific problem in this area. Uh, one follow-up question would be like, what is and like an application, like what is the main thing that you're trying to crack? Are you trying to crack about like how humans have like how can we model human perception better and just like use that, or are you actually like thinking about like making a device as good as a human eye that could possibly do better computer vision? Like what is like a good like application of this research that you're trying to solve?
Yeah, sure. So the thing is, this is like a very broad area in terms of application. So the very fact that there are like lots of industries that rely on how people perceive things. Like for instance, let's say take something like VR technology or an AR technology. So if you actually go towards something like Facebook or Google, who are working on like Oculus or Google Glass or something like that, you want to know how the behavior of people on like how they do things. Or you can even take something in terms of graphics rendition, right, in your field. So in VR, you kind of use this thing where you want to just render the locations where people are actually looking. You don't want to render everywhere, right? So that kind of gives you some computational efficiency. So there are, in terms of applications, there's like broad range of things into just understand how people behave. So this is kind of a behavioral thing, right? So that will be helpful for industries in where they're trying to create human wearable technologies, especially with the eyes. So there are like lots of things that, as I said, are coming. So those are one sets of place where just understanding the behavior is pretty important. Another area that would probably be very important to understand this is, as you said, is in computer vision. So I mean, there have been a lot of recent work in the last decade where people have started using deep neural networks, or like some kind of machine learning models that kind of, it's not exactly mimicking humans, but it has this capability of bringing at least a little bit of how people perceive things into their network structure. So So basically, these kinds of networks are improving day by day a lot more, and they are able to do a lot of things that we as people do in our day-to-day lives, though it's not as good as humans still. So understanding how humans do certain things might be helpful for us to create models that are much better than what they are currently, and we'll be able to have a much more richer or intelligent design of this architectures that we are making for these models, and that would help us to kind of create these computer vision systems that could do as good as what humans might do. And you might ask where this might be useful. I mean, you can see that it is probably useful in a lot of things. Like you see, there are self-driving cars that are, trying
Mm.
to look at the world around you, and there are probably, face recognition systems. There are, you can have security systems that are there. You can even think in more futuristic terms, something like having a personalized robot that goes around and does work or something like that. Like the possibilities are basically endless at this point. So it is, I would say, understanding how humans do things, not just in vision, in terms of any other thing, would be a very vital part for the betterment of technology for humans in the future.
Okay, nice. I like that answer a lot. It's telling me that actually you're not actually working on the application layer. You're actually working on more like the infrastructure or the architecture. And if you like find something or solve some existing problems, it can basically have like multiple effects like downstream in like years to come.
Yes.
That's great. And I was just talking to you about this, like out of this interview about like this podcast that I was listening to by this primatologist called Isabel Benke. It was this
Mhm.
podcast on Tim Ferriss, and like they're basically talking about like animal behavior and how a lot of human behaviors have like stemmed from similar animal behaviors like matings or our social structure and things like that. But the thing that I wanted to ask is, why do you think humans have such high or advanced perception of vision? Like it probably is would have evolved from hunting or something like that. But why do you think? I think is there any other species on Earth which has better vision than humans, and why do we have such good vision? Any thoughts on that?
Sure, yeah. So the thing is, it's not like humans have the most advanced vision in terms of evolutionarily speaking. Like
Okay.
humans do have a good vision, but the thing is like all the other species that are there, their vision is more nuanced in terms of what their surrounding and environment is. Like, for instance, if you take an eagle's eye, you have you would have kind of heard this phrase everywhere, like you have an eagle's eyes. The reason why you say that is because they have a they would be able to locate very small objects from a very far distance, which is not as we were not as capable as eagles in that sense.
Mm.
So the thing is like there is this kind of a notion that humans are in the pinnacle of an evolution or something like that, but it's usually the case that all the animals that are currently present are in their own sense in their pinnacle. So it is
Okay.
just that I mean I could give you a lot of examples in that sense. So if you actually, I'm not sure which animal exactly this is, but if you actually notice that there is this thing called a blind spot in our eyes. Have you ever heard about that?
I think you made me do that experiment, like where you can hold your finger in front of it.
Yeah,
Actually,
just
you just explain it so that it's
yeah,
better
yeah.
for
So
you.
basically, you what you have to do is just hold close one of your eyes and hold your thumb at arm's length, and then basically just go towards one of the directions. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and at one point, like around say I don't know some 7 degrees or something, you'll be able to see that you won't be seeing the your thumb basically.
Oh, okay.
So
In front of our eyes.
in front of your eyes. So just slowly keep moving it. Don't follow the thumb. So just concentrate something in front of you and slightly move your thumb. And there would be a
Mm.
point where you would not be able to see your thumb.
Yeah.
So the thing is like our vision has this thing where we have this sort of blind spot where you wouldn't actually see anything, but our brains are pretty wonderful that they would be able to fill in that locations information without you noticing on a day-to-day basis. But
Mm.
the thing is, the blind spot occurs because there evolutionarily our eyes was not developed to do the things that it's currently doing. It was just like a light sensing device. So our eye structure kind of evolved from. I'm not exactly sure on this. I might be butchering the exact terminologies on how we got this specific sort of arrangement. But basically, um, the neuron layers in our eyes are basically inverted. So what happens is that you have this blind spot where the nerves actually go in through a specific spot, and that spot doesn't have any neurons, and that's why you see the blind spot. The thing is, there are other animals which does not have this feature. They don't have a blind spot. They have a complete vision. And there are other animals. If you see another thing, if you directly see in front of you, you wouldn't be able to exactly tell what's written on your periphery. So your periphery is almost blurred usually. If you
Mm.
have actually noticed that. The thing is, because again we have a vision. That's why we have eye movements. So we only see with full resolution in front of our eyes. So if you just see a little bit on your periphery, it will always be blurred. So there are some animals which does not have such things. So it depends on what you call as fully developed or something. So I would say that different animals have their own sets of that kind of gives you the idea of evolution, right? So each animal has its own sets of equations that are governing like what would be suitable for its survival, and that equations and that the trade-offs of those factors kind of play in like how things evolve in your around your environment for your body. So I would say like it's kind of not easy to just say that humans have a very advanced vision.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great answer for shining some light on limitations on human eye. Like, yeah, like for anybody thinking like we are in the pinnacle of the
Yeah.
human eye. That's okay. That's a great answer. And just something that I thought about is this is like a very interesting field where like evolution and like human psychology, human behavior, and all comes into the picture. So when you decided that you wanted to do something in this field, like was that a particular reason for you to get into this field, like this multi-dimensionality of this field? Was it like a reason for you to get into it? If so, like what were the things that made you choose this specific field?
Sure. So I mean, this goes back to my time in masters. So I was kind of very much interested in artificial intelligence, and I was in fact very much particularly interested in computer vision. But the thing was, the way the field was going at that point of time, it looked like as though like they kind of do some kind of trial and error with their models, and then they change some things, and then if they have these kinds of data sets on which you train your models or something, and if you get a really good accuracy with the training with the data set that you have, and they say that it's a newer model, and they keep moving forward. So it looked like a more of a trial and error process than an actual scientific research. So I was more interested on how humans do this. Like I've looked at computations that goes into doing very simple tasks like searching a bottle in a space, or even for moving from one location to another. You require so much computations, and it's so much computation intensive that it takes a lot of time and a lot of efficient coding for you to make a robot system do this. And that just made me realize how granted we have taken this, how easy it is for us. We don't even think about the computations that are involved when we do the same things, right? So that was kind of like inspiring me to like look into like why, how is it so easy for us, like why do we do these
Mm.
things without any issues? How does our brain makes these computations, like what is going on within ourselves? So that is the point where I wanted to like explore more on things like how are people actually researching this about brains, about how brains compute this and create models on that. And then I went on to research on like like how what are the people who are working on it, and that is where the journey of coming into psychology actually started.
Nice. That's nice. So like I see that the your curiosity for that field, you were not like happy with just like trial and error, finding out better neural, which is what is the industry towards. So you wanted to go a little more deep, ask more fundamental question, and then you found this field. That's nice. I really didn't know that. Like, even though I've been with you for 2 years, I really never knew about like the your fundamental like queue of curiosity that led you here. That's nice to know, hear that. Uh, I have I have more like fundamental PhD questions, but before that, just a high level of like, how is the program at UCSB, and why do you think it's like highly rated? Like people come to this field, and how is your experience been, particularly in UCSB so far?
Sure. So the thing is, one thing that I've actually really liked about UCSB is the interdisciplinary and like multidisciplinary collaborative work that happens. So especially with my current research, I work with computer scientists from computer science department, from electrical engineering department. So there is this kind of ideas that go across different fields, and which is very important at this point of time, I would especially say, because as you can see, the work in itself requires multidisciplinary collaboration, because there are people who are trying to understand how humans work, how humans do things, and there are people who are trying to model them, who are more computationally more resourceful. So there these kinds of different fields that have been separate for a very long time. They have their own techniques, they have their own ways to solve things. Usually what happens is that when these kinds of situations which requires a multidisciplinary collaboration needed, when single parties work on it, they wouldn't know what exactly needs to be done here, and they would probably not be able to do justice to the problem. When collaboration happens with these kinds of multidisciplinary fields, the exchange of ideas would definitely lead to a better solution, and that's what I've seen it happening with my work as well. Having meetings or exploring other options that are there with both neuroscientists or psychologists and computer scientist people has been really helpful to move forward in my project. So that's
Mm,
one thing that I've really liked about UCSB. And I'm pretty sure this would actually vary depending on the departments as well. I'm not entirely sure how every department works. At least I've seen a lot of engineering and psychology department being a lot of having this collaborative work, and I've also seen like people are more keen to or more open towards listening to people from other fields. So that's something that I've seen a lot in my department. Other than that, I mean, this is obviously a beautiful place. Like, you have a lot of things. You have a beach nearby. It's pretty good place in terms of that. So yeah, I mean, it's a really good school, UCSB.
okay. That's good to hear. That's really good to hear. Yeah, I also have seen this trend of sorts. Like, I feel like if people are siloed into their specific field, like people choose specific fields in their undergraduate, but if you're siloed in that, it's like very skewed research or development that you're just trying to solve one problem within your realm of expertise, and it doesn't really give you like the big picture. And
Mm,
I think like this more like multiple discipline is how things are going to be going forward.
true.
Like I also remember in my time there were like these research with like folks from the physics department for doing like
Mm,
some fundamental physics, and they were bringing it into a computer science application. So it
mm,
was like, okay, like, yeah, people need to start talking together and like bringing their expertise to the table, and it's good that you found such a nice school and such a nice department to work with. That's amazing. Okay. uh Great. So we have established like what field, what's the space that you're working on. That's really good. Now I just want to come back a little bit about like PhD in general. Like you know, uh, it's like in my opinion, it like it filters down like for people. There are almost everybody who does their bachelor's degree, and then there are a few who does. I mean, nowadays it's almost like many do masters, but then
mm.
after that it filters down to PhD. So maybe like what is your take on like who should be pursuing a PhD? Like what, for whom is it a good place to get into? Like what should be a good like, let's say like if you're asking such questions, this is for you. Like what do you think is for somebody that this place is good or right for?
To be honest, like PhD is, at least for me, it has been. something like where I've tried to explore my specific research interest. So if you ask me at this point of time what I would want to do in like once I finish my PhD, even I'm not entirely sure like what would be my direction. And especially in the last probably a month or so, I've been a little bit more confused on
Is
what
it?
would what
I have a
what would
question
be.
later about that.
Yeah, we would probably discuss more on that at that point of time. But yeah, I'm kind of in the stage where I'm still exploring my options, and there are lots of things that would happen. Like I mean, the usual options here I have are like either academic or industry side. So let's not go too much into detail on that. But the thing is like what PhD has done to me is that I've been able to explore my interests. So as I said before, I actually come from a completely computational background. I did my undergrad in mechanical, I did my master's in robotics, and I don't have any idea of how people do research with humans or how people, uh, you in general, try to understand how humans do things. And that was kind of what my interest was when I finished my master's or when I was in my master's. So PhD has definitely helped me explore this side of my interest. I've got a little bit more understanding on like how or what kind of work would be interesting to me, like what would I've been able to shape that a lot more. And I would say people have to think about doing a PhD if they're like really interested in a specific research problem or something like that that they want to explore further. So you don't need to, I would say you don't need to think too much about what you would do at the end of 5 years. I mean, I haven't yet still figured it out. It will take
Okay.
some time, but you don't. I'm pretty sure you do need to give in a lot of thought to it at some point of time. But the thing is, you do a PhD if you feel interested in a specific problem and you want to know or get to know more about the techniques or like the kind of research that people do, or you can even think about it as a way of networking with people as well, because you get to meet people, especially in conferences and stuff. You get to meet people who are interested in similar things, and you share your ideas and you get to know their people and you get to know the work that they are doing. So it's, I would say, PhD is a very good place to explore your research solutions or ideas that you have, or to explore the techniques that you want to know, to network with people of similar interests, to go and talk about your research to other people. So I would, especially the first few years, I would say PhD is something where you would just do these kinds of things and not think too much about what would be the future. So that would come eventually, and I'm guessing that would be the next part of my journey in PhD.
Okay. First, I appreciate for you being honest and open about like things that you don't know, that you're like, I'm yet to figure out. So people will go through that phase of not knowing or like experimenting. So
True.
I really appreciate that. And again, like you reiterating the fact that that intellectual curiosity or like a research curiosity is very important for somebody to get into this space, is something that I think I'm going to highlight from this conversation. Um, but okay, uh, and another question that I was thinking about is, like there was this quote from like Naval Ravikant. I don't know if you know him, but he's like a very famous internet guru. Like he's like a very like modern philosophical plus technological guru. And he says like computer scientists or like science researchers are like the forefront of human evolution, or for putting humanity forward, because like you are trying to solve at least things that will come like 10 or 20 years down the lane. So it's like you're doing the groundwork for that, and that's very important. So where I'm going with this is, like for people who have option like to join the industry, or to sit and do research, solve hard problems, what do you think is the biggest fruit, or like what do you think, like I know that you mentioned that you have intellectual curiosity, but what do you think is like the aha moment, or like this is why I'm doing PhD, dude, or like something that you feel like justifying the time that you are there, that it is, I know that it's not like it doesn't pay a lot like if you would join like a FANG company, but what other factors do you think is been your experience like?
So I would say I mean, yeah, as you said, the pay is not very great, especially in California. It's not a place to be as a researcher, I would say, with the the cost and the inflation stuff. But yeah, the thing that probably drives me is the fact that I have a little bit more freedom on choosing what uh, intrigues me, right? I mean, that would probably be an ideal situation in an industry setup would be where you are kind of having your own research, or like you can just think about problems that you want, and the way you think about your problem and the problem in itself, it matches with the vision or the mission of the company. So that would be an ideal case scenario in an industry setup, which usually might not happen. And that would not be the case if you're just a master student as well. Master students usually go into a work where you're kind of working in the front end or a back end, or you'll also probably working in some kind of specific problem already set up, right? So you would just be a person who would be working on an already set up problem, and you try to implement or try to change some things. And I'm pretty sure there would be some kind of research activities there too. But I feel like when once you have a PhD, or when once you have your own research, the even if you want to go into an industry at that point of time after you finish your PhD, the the level at which the kind of work that you might be doing, where you're kind of having your own research pathways, or like this is something that even I'm exploring at this point of time, where I'm actually planning on doing internships at some point of time next year.
Okay.
So the thing is, like, what would ultimately happen is that you would have these options where you have these research labs that happens in all these companies, that especially nowadays it's growing a lot. Like people companies are investing a lot in research too. So PhDs or postdoc people are welcomed a lot nowadays in these kinds of labs. So where you can, if the vision or the mission of the company matches with the interest that you have, you can explore your research problem over there. So coming back to your question, the reason why I do PhD is because when you just finish your masters, you wouldn't have this option of just working on the problem that you like. It's just that you work on a very specific given task, and if the task is something that's interesting to you, well and good. But if you want to work on designing the task itself, then that would be something where I would be able to do in a PhD setup, where I work on things that are not just problems that are already set up. It's you're working on understanding the problem in a level where you are creating the tasks that would help us understand the problem. Do you get the
Hmm.
sense of what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. It definitely makes sense. Like, it's a very good point that you mentioned. Like in industry, it's like an already set up problem. You're just like one of the workers or the person to enable solving that problem or a subset of that problem. So if you really want to go into a new problem itself, I think like that what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Um, and maybe to also like on what I was elucidating in my question was also like what are some of the for example, like a very silly thing would be like, let's say if I have a bug and I fix it, I feel like great. Or a bigger picture would be like, let's say if I have a feature that was given to me and I implemented it and tested it, maybe that is something that I find interesting as a software engineer. What is something in your research that you feel is like of course, like you don't like just go and be like you don't go naked running from a shower and be like, I solved the problem, right? You'll be like
Eureka.
Eureka. Like what is some of the like the success moments look like in this journey?
So one thing that I've probably learned being in PhD research for the last 3 years is that you won't easily get those success moments. It is
Okay.
kind of, it's going to be sparse, but when you have it, it's going to be a really big one.
Hmm.
So the thing is, I've been working on my specific project for the last uh, 3 years, right? Well, this is since I started my PhD, and there have been lots of failures over failures, where the reason why failures happens, especially in research, is because you're trying to explore your options, right? So not every option would always work. You just hit on something and then you think, okay, this might work. You work on that, and then it turns out that it doesn't work, so you have to move on. So you need to have that mental capacity, or like, you should basically start accepting that it's okay to have failures. And down the road, doing a PhD also helps to kind of get to that get to that idea that it's okay to have some failures along the road. But there happens these kinds of moments where you think that this idea might work, and then you work on it, and suddenly it just clicks, everything clicks, and everything starts to work all of a sudden. So these are, it is sort of a luck thing, this kind of involved, like, and there's obviously a lot of hard work too. But the thing is, when it works, it gives you that feeling of, you have created something on your own. So, and that feeling is something that would probably make you go forward till the next time whenever it comes.
Okay, nice. Yeah, this is like the more realistic of how like Iron Man built his suit and got it like up and running. But it's a
Yeah,
more
if you
like
want to put it in that sense, yes.
but in a more like humble way, like this is how it looks in PhD, Yeah, it's nice, dude. It's really nice that like you're sharing these things, like especially like failures is really like hard for people, and like to, especially when nobody's already like paved the path, you're trying to dig it on your own, and so it's definitely going to take a toll. Maybe one more personal question, like I had this for some time later, but I think this is more appropriate now, would be like, there are these days when you feel like really low by like back to back failures, or like, let's not say failure, just like setbacks or something like that. So what is like your Shravan specific like recipe for like, okay, like it's a bad day or a down day, what do you do to like get back, or like put it back, and like what would you do you do something else, or like what would you suggest some people do?
One thing I would say is that don't have just a single option, have multiple options for you to go for when you're down in a specific day. For me specifically, I would talk to you guys when you were here. I would just come and just, if I have anything that's annoying or not working for me, I'll just discuss with you guys when we were as roommates. And then it would be really interesting to see the kind of similar kind of problems that you guys also face. And the fact that all of us are kind of having this kind of same issues on a day-to-day basis would kind of help me to say that, okay, everyone's is in the same boat. I'm not alone. And that kind of gives you a sense of community, and you tend to feel a little bit more less stressed out on such situations. So that has always helped me, like, just talking out to people. It need not be your friends, it could be your parents, it could be your siblings. Just talking out your day's stress has always been a way to, like, help me cope up with the stress that I have. Another way I've usually seen is, like, having some kind of an activity, like either I sometimes go to play tennis, or I go for gym, or sometimes I just take up my guitar, or I sing sometimes. So I would say that PhD is probably the best time for you to create a hobby of your own. If you feel like you don't have a hobby, PhD is like best time to just start a hobby and just while away your time with something new that you want to try out. And I'm very certain that doing such things would also help you a lot in your research as well, because whenever you feel down, you can just go to your safe place, probably like something like some hobby that you have created for yourself, and that would help you to cope up with a lot of things that's happening. It could be anything. I've even started cooking better than before, because it helped me to feel happy about myself that I've done something. So these kind of small happiness that you get in your life, I would always suggest that to take any opportunity that you get to get such small happinesses, because you might not know when you get it. And if there is an opportunity that just is on your face, just don't ignore it, just go for it, and then we can think about the repercussions. But I would say it's always good to have these take these small opportunities. It could be anything like cooking, or if you want to do a sudden trip of planning somewhere like to Channel Islands. you should. I would say you should definitely take the opportunity and go there and do
Mm,
those things.
nice. I definitely acknowledge a lot of those things, like especially the time where like we could just like sit and like share our problems and our challenges was the best part, and something that I miss in my current setup because it is not like that. But I definitely acknowledge that. And also like you casually saying that you sing is completely an understatement because people should know that you sing really professionally and you are part of a lot of groups. But okay, I had that for later, so it's okay.
Okay.
So that's good. Yeah, this is turning out to be great. I really like where this is going. Just to wrap up the first section, I want to like just specifically talk about PhD life in like a little bit more higher level. Is like what I didn't know was like PhD would be like completely funded. Like people could fund your studies or like your research area if you know what you want to do. So maybe if you can just shine some light on like for people like me who never knew that there was such an opportunity where like you don't have to like pay for your whole 5 years, but if you have a good problem or if you find a good professor, you could work on your problem. So if you can just shine some light on the PhD process of getting.
Sure. So the thing is, funding is usually there in most of the colleges in US, but that's not always the case. There are places where PhD is not completely funded, and you might have to bring in your own funding, like fellowships that you might get, or it would be like people would still. There are people who even work without any funding. I don't know how it works, but it works.
Okay.
But the thing is like, but usually yes, for PhD students you do have funding, and that happens through either your department or your professor. So professors usually have a grant for the work that they're doing, and they would be applying to grants constantly over the years. And if they have good amount of grant money, they would be able to fund you. And if the professor's work and your work kind of matches with each other, and if you're working under them, you'll be able to provide you with some stipend. Another way that usually happens, if the department is really good, if they have really good resources, they would be able to fund you by you doing some kind of teaching assistantship. So
Mhm.
you would be doing your research work parallelly. You'll be teaching undergraduate students. So that is something, another way that you'll be able to fund yourself. Or as I said before, fellowships are another way where you apply for some kind of a fellowship, and then if it works out, you would be able to fund yourself with that money.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, just to give people the idea of like what are the opportunities or options that people have, because people should not be like, I need to like get the loan for the entire 5 years or something. So that's really good that you wrap that up. So one last question in this section is like talking about professors. We know that professors like are like facing their own challenges because they have to dabble with research, do academics, find funding proposals, write proposals for getting good funding. So my thing would be like, what is like one suggestion that you think would like make this thing better? Like, do you think that people should invest more in this area, like government should invest more, or like industry should share more interests, or like something that you think like being 3 years, like what is something that could make this space more thriving or more better than how it is already?
One possibility. I mean, I don't know how this could be implemented though, but the thing is, it definitely requires a little bit more funding in terms of how students are paid. As I said before, the common salary for students is around $2,000, which would be fine at most locations in US, but some places like California, where the cost of living itself is pretty high,
Mm,
it's not going to be an easy task for a student with the salary of just over $2,000 to pay the rent, and then have their usual cost of living things done, and then at the same time have some money to save or do something like that. So especially people who are international students, they might, if they have some kind of loans, or even people who are from here who have taken loans for their undergraduate, if they want to pay those loans, you'd have to put a specific amount of money from here to from the $2,000 that you get to the loan as well, right? So these all uh, make it a little bit tougher for people to decide whether they want to go through this process of PhD in general, even if they are interested in thinking about a problem or solving them on their own or something like that. The very fact that there is this money constraint plays a huge role on people to decide whether they want to come this side or not. So one possibility would be to at least improve the money structure by taking into account of the cost of living for different states that are there. So it doesn't seem fair for people, for students who are studying here as well as somewhere in say some Midwest or Central America states to have the same salary and expect them to have to deal with all the cost of livings with the same kind of salary.
Okay. Yeah, that's nice. Thanks for being like open about like the challenges of a PhD student. Like you mentioned, the stipend of $2,000 is pretty hard, especially like the current inflation and California being like as expensive as it's ever been. But yeah, hopefully all the other things get better, and hopefully all the things make it a much more happy experience. But it's good to know. Hopefully things get better in this area. But that's nice. The first part is done. It was lovely to know a lot about PhD life, about your area, about brain and science, brain sciences and psychology. So now I'm going to the next portion of this interview where I'm going to be talking about a little bit like turning the knobs back, going to your life as you mentioned parts of it, but your life in NIT, National Institute of Technology, your undergraduation, then your master's in WPI. So I just wanted to like start from there. So you did your undergraduate from like one of the most prestigious institutes in India. For people who don't know, like NITs is pretty hard to get into. So can you just share a little about like how was your time there, and also like share about your first interest, like like how Steve Jobs is like connecting the dots. How did like your interest in robotics like kind of lead you towards this? If you can just share some of that.
Sure. So I mean, to be honest, my initial interest before even I joined any undergraduate college was in physics. So I was very interested in physics, and I wanted to actually go towards something like doing a BSc or MSc in physics. But as you know, most of how parents in India, engineering is the option that you want to take. So the closest engineering option that I had was mechanical, where I was kind of interested in like thermodynamics or heat and mass transfer, and kinematics, dynamics of machines, and all those things. Those were things that kind of interested from the physics based interest that I had. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take mechanical. And then well, in my mechanical, I joined this club called Robotics Club, which is called RMI in our college. So I joined it around my second year, and I would say that was the starting point of my interest towards where I am today. And I mean, you might see like my interests have kind of developed over the years. If someone just looks at the kind of things that I've done, just with my resume, you would see that I'm a mechanical engineer, followed by some robotics, and then followed to psychology. So you might feel like it's like too hard to connect these things, but it has a very simple root. As I said, I took this robotics. I was part of this club, and I did a lot of projects. And one of the projects that I did was playing a chess arm that works with computer vision. So you basically look at specific locations in the chessboard, and then you detect where the pieces are, and then you make your move or something like that. So that was the point where I was very much interested in computer vision, and that stemmed my interest at that point of time to create a system that would be robust in detecting something, or like doing something like how human does. I've never thought it in terms of like how human does at that point of time, but I knew that I have to make it robust such that it is as good as human.
Mhm.
The next part was at the end of my undergrad final year. I did this specific project where I was interested in a system that would be able to uh, detect characters from or like character meaning the words from a live feed, and then it would be able to detect it and recognize what it is, and then uh, store it or spell it out. So I was really interested in creating these kinds of system, and that was the kind of time I was introduced to neural networks. So during my summer time, I was like going through a lot of tutorials in Coursera, where they were
Mm.
introducing us to neural networks. I don't know if you know the Android course, right?
Yeah, very
On machine
famous.
learning. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was the time it just started out, and I was really interested in. The moment I heard neural networks, I knew that this was kind of interesting, and it was the first time I heard it. And then my interest kind of went from the computer vision side to the neural networks, where I was okay. Let's see, how things go. And once I learned about neural networks, I knew that I want to do something with this in my project for my final year. And then I implemented the system where I detect some characters using computer vision algorithms, and then I send those detected characters to a neural network model that would recognize the detected characters, and then it will say what letter it is. So I trained this entire model.
Mm.
And so basically I had this project. So this project kind of gave me the idea that okay, I am very much interested in AI, artificial intelligence, and uh, I want to go towards something in robotics, and like explore further like what would give me this interest, more meaning. So as that was the case, I went to masters in WPI, because at that point of time robotics was a good department in WPI. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, the
I
time I
just want to
went,
I just want
yeah,
to stop you here before you switch to WPI, because
mm,
yeah, like you clearly, like you wrapped up all of your master's experience in like one question. I had like so many questions, but you answered
okay.
almost all of it, so that's really nice. So I just want to like take a break there, because like to give people context more,
Mm.
because I like that you dabble with like actual physical things, and then you also dabble like with neural network and vision. So that's nice. Uh, like it's kind of like I think since you were in NIT, or however you were exposed to, like you were exposed to neural networks back in 2015 or 2016. Like I myself came across this concept like way later, like maybe like when I could like use it on my projects like in 2019 or 2018. So I just wanted your thoughts on like, since you're there from the beginning, like how do you think it's grown, that specific field? Like it's grown like in the last few years like crazy, but from long back, what's like your perspective of this field? Like you said that it hooked you on, like you knew right away that this is where you want to be. What about it?
So the thing was, it's more towards how people portray these neural networks as. So the thing that hooked me up with neural network is that it was something that was mimicking humans, and it's still
Mm.
not completely true. But the thing is that the way they mention neural networks, the name itself, like you see that like it's like neural, like there's nothing neural about it. At least at the point of time where I was doing that. The thing was, it was kind of really fascinating to see that okay, there are things that would kind of learn on itself. You just need to show something and it could learn, and it could say what it is seeing or something like that. Like the fact that you can kind of mimic these kinds of systems that are that are just done by humans. No other things or like machines that we have developed could ever do such things, right? So it kind of the fascination about neural systems and those kinds of things, I didn't know how much knowledge about it, but just the word and the hype around it and the things that the android course especially, that was very turning point for me to understand a little bit more about machine learning in general itself. So it kind of gave me this feeling of the fact that you'd be able to create something on your own, and that would be able to solve things that especially at that point of time I was trying to solve this thing of as I said, the computer vision for the chessboard, right? So I wanted to make it more robust, and this when I got to know that there are models that can learn from examples and stuff like that, I was like kind of intrigued in getting to know more about it. So, and I also at the same point of time I was kind of doing a project in IIT Madras, under professor who's like very much well versed in reinforcement learning and things like that. So I didn't have any idea of reinforcement learning at that point of time, but working with them, I kind of got to know like what are the different techniques that are used in machine learning and those kinds of things. So yes, that did kind of get me hooked up with neural networks. But the thing is, at least in the initial stages of neural networks, or like generally in machine learning, when neural networks came into the picture, the kind of work that they did was, as I said, it's a lot of trial and error. You make the network really big, you change some hyperparameters, you do some kind of changes to it, and then you get a better result on your data set, and then you call that a new model. Now I would say over the last decade people have kind of realized that that is not the way to go, and I'm actually seeing a lot of people doing research where they are trying to incorporate better models by either understanding humans or putting more logic into the models that they are implementing. Like there are these models called transformers at this point of time. I'm not sure if you have heard about it, but these are models that are that uses some kind of a logic of how dictionaries work. Like you have a key, you have a value, you have a location stored, so you kind of I mean it's kind of hard to explain it, but
Yeah, we don't
basically
want to go really deep into
yeah.
that.
So basically what I'm trying to say is that you have these kinds of ideas that people try to put in these models rather than just randomly making some architecture and hope that it works. So that is some kind of improvement that I've seen a lot especially over the last few years.
Okay, nice. Yes, like see, like listening to your story, it's like a movie, and I can see the foreshadowing already. Like you were already interested in like human behavior or human psychology. Like you were like fascinated by how can some neural network mimic human behavior. That was the first thing, and then you dive deep into it. And I think like more than 60% of stats of the Andrew NG courses, people don't finish it. So that's a big achievement in itself.
Thanks.
So, and then you also realize that this is not enough. So all of those like kind of like re-points me to your first, when you mentioned like why you did your PhD. So it is like very clear that you did, you took those steps. But anyways, to like clearly finish it, now that you did this, like now you can tell me about your experience in WPI. For anybody who doesn't know, it's Worcester Polytechnic Institute. It's a very famous institute for robotics. So how did you decide, like what was your mindset then, and what was your field that you wanted to dabble in, and how did you decide to do the masters at WPI?
So another thing was like I was applying to a lot of colleges in robotics at that point of time, and Booster Polytechnic Institute was a good college when I was applying to robotics over there. The thing was, when I joined WPI, the two of the professors who were actually like leading researchers over there, and whose researchers were kind of interesting to my interest as well, kind of left the place and went to another university at that point of time. So what happened was there was this kind of a void period where they did not have much funding for resources or like funding for any research that's happening, and I kind of got stuck at the wrong time in WPI. I don't know how it is at this point of time. They probably picked it up again. I haven't been following much. But the thing is, I came into WPI at kind of a wrong time. So I had a lot of interest to go and think about different. I mean, go and work in different labs or kind of research. But the thing is, most of them didn't have funding, or they did not. They were not specifically working in any problems at that point of time. So eventually it was a kind of a struggle for me at that point of time, because I wasn't sure what I exactly wanted, because there was no proper guidance for me to, say like where to explore these things. And then I was also not sure if I wanted to do a PhD at that point of time. I mean, I knew that I wanted to go into solid research, but I mean, it's the usual things, right? You have pressure from your parents and relatives for having a job or something like that, and there was also a lot of pressure in doing some kind of an intern. Maybe hindsight, I could have done some intern. It's something that but it's not like I'm thinking too much about it, but it's something
Yeah.
that people who are listening might want to know, that it's good to have an intern experience in your master's, even if you want to do your PhD.
Mhm.
But again, as I said, there was no much guidance that I got at that point of time. These are decisions I had to take on my own, and it's not easy to take such decisions at that point of time, because you're confused yourself on what you want to do. And I was of the opinion that there's not much research going on in companies. Now I know that there's a lot of research that's going on. At that point of time, my opinion was that, like, there was not much going on, or probably it could have also been true that it was developing at that point of time.
Yeah. Mm.
But the thing was, there was a lot of confusion going on within myself, and eventually I took upon myself to kind of see what interests me a lot. And that is the point where I think it was one of the summers, either 20, I think it was 2017 summer or 2018 summer, I'm not sure. So that was the point where I kind of went over the things that really interest me. I started researching a little bit more in the internet, and then I came across actually I came across a specific paper called Building Machines That Learn and Think Like People.
Hmm.
So this was a review article written by Joshua Tenenbaum, who's working in MIT.
Okay.
uh, so I read through this paper, and I was like, it just brought back all the things that interest me when I was doing in my undergrad. So it just brought everything back to a circle. Like, I saw that people are working in these kinds of things where they are trying to improve AI by understanding humans. Like, he talks about reinforcement learning. And since it's a review paper, I kind of got a very broader idea of, like, what are the kind of works that people are doing in different fields, and how
Hmm.
they are trying to incorporate the findings of humans and how humans do things into these kinds of models and things. And that really got me fascinated, and I was like, okay, this is where I want to be in, and this is what I want to do. And no matter what, I want to be in this area somewhere. I didn't know where, but I knew that I want to be somewhere here. And that was the point of time where I approached a few more professors in my department, and I explained my interest. Okay, this is what I want to do, but I'm not sure who I should approach, and I don't know who to go towards. And then I explained things to them, and they were really helpful. Two of my professors in WPI, they were really understanding of the problems that were there in the department at the point of time, and the interest that I had. And they helped me guide towards a few projects where I worked with Microsoft HoloLens in both of these projects, where I was trying to create a way to visualize brain data, integrate different brain data like fMRI, connectome data, and all those kinds of things. So it kind of gave me a leg into into, like, this kind of neuroscience field, or like neuroscience things or data of those kinds of things with these projects. And these professors were really helpful with guiding me towards the kind of interest that I had. And there was a lot of issues with the department as well at that point of time, where they wouldn't accept the project that I did as a robotics project, because it was not a traditional robotics project. So I had a lot of issues in those things as well. So I had to actually do a separate project with HoloLens that was more closer towards robotics.
Okay.
So there were a lot of issues at that point of time. but yeah, but I knew that once I found this, this is the area that I want to go. And I actually, it is kind of difficult to apply for PhD completely out of your field as well. So the kind of work I started researching about different colleges that are there, which kind of does these work, and usually those are from departments like psychology or neuroscience. So especially there are a lot of departments from neuroscience. I was never actually thinking about myself being in a psychology department. That's another story though. um,
Okay.
but the thing is, I was looking into a lot of neuroscience departments, but I actually applied twice to PhD positions at different places, 2 years, 2 consecutive years. So I first applied in 2018 and I didn't get it anywhere.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I applied initially in 2018, and yeah, I probably didn't apply, smart. I just applied to colleges that I felt was nice, and those colleges are all pretty huge ones.
Okay, okay.
And I didn't research on everything, so I just researched on the area and the program which I liked, and then I just applied. And the first time I applied, I did not get anywhere, and it was a very tough time. It was because one more factor that was playing into was funding. I did not have any funding till 2018, almost 2018 October around. I started getting funding for the work that I was doing with my professors only from October of 2018. So that was also playing into my mind, because I see all my friends getting in different companies. Or they have some kind of interns that's going on for them, or they had some kind of source for money, and that was kind of playing into my head as well. Like, I have to do something. I don't know what I'm doing. Those kinds of issues were going on. But yeah, eventually I got this grant money from my professor for working with the HoloLens. And then as I said, I applied in 2018. I did not get anywhere. I was even thinking of applying in WPA itself for a PhD, because they were planning to hire some people who are interested in computational neuroscience. So I was thinking about that as well as an option. But in 2019, I again applied especially to Santa Barbara. I didn't even know where Santa Barbara was at that point of time, but I applied it over there, and fortunately, my professor, in the last dying moments of my thought that I would get PhD, he just contacted me out of the blue and then said that if I'm interested in signing, and I just grasped that with both my hands.
Okay. This is a professor from UCSB, you said.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Nice. It's uh, it's nice, like the way you merge like so many different challenges. Like I want to like get a little bit into many of them. Like you mentioned, like a lack of guidance, which caused you to like mentally be in a little bit of challenging situation, funding, and then knowing which area you wanted to go. So yeah, it's really good that if, like these things is what's going to help people to not do the same mistakes, right? So I really again appreciate you for like openly sharing all of this, and also like doing your best to like put it all in like words that this is what happened in my life. So I really appreciate that. So before we go next, I have like few follow-ups, a little bit more like getting into your personal side, but I just want to like quickly take a break here and appreciate, and also like really appreciate you for like clearly wording out everything so clearly. So if you're cool, we'll just take a quick break here. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back, guys. So we are in conversation with Shravan, talking about his career journey. It's been going great so far. So welcome to part 2. So where we're going to be continuing talking with him. So where we left off, Shravan, you were just talking about like after WPI, you got this opportunity from your advisor at UCSB after a span of challenges that you had. So can you just share about like how important are advisors for a PhD life or research in general, and how is your experience with your advisor been so far?
So in general, I would say advisor is something that is the most important for any PhD. It's even more important than the kind of problem that they're actually working on. The reason I would say this is because advisors are the ones that would be able to guide you towards the kind of path you want to take in the future. Any guide that you would want would be a good guide would basically be able to help you with any path that you want to take. So I would say a very good relation with your advisor is something that is very important from the beginning of your PhD. And irrespective of the problem that you're working on, if you're close enough with your advisors to talk about the kind of path, whether it's industry or academic side, or if it's like a specific problem that you're interested in that is like slightly deviating from the things that the lab do, and if you're confident or like comfortable enough to talk with your professor, and if the professor is able to guide you on those things, so these are the things that would be very helpful for you to have in terms of an advisor. So usually a good way to kind of know whether an advisor is good or not is to talk to their students, their current students. So when you are applying to different programs, and if you have some kind of interviews with the professor, the best thing that you could probably do is contact their current students and even past students, and then have a conversation with them to see like how they felt when they were part of the program or currently working in the program. And another thing to probably look is the kind of paths that the alumni of the lab have actually taken. So you could see that are there people from different diverse backgrounds going into different diverse fields. So that's something that you could always look into and see that, okay, the professor is kind of supporting students irrespective of the path that they want to take. So these are the things that you can, it's not always the right measure, but these are all the measures or factors that you can always look into to take a more informed decision for the advisor. So all I would say is that even if you like the program, if you like the kind of work the lab does, it's always good to have the first priority that you need to see is if the professor is a good mentor or a guidance for you. So even when you're taking your PhD, you should always make sure that contact all the students and make sure that the advisor is actually a good person and a good mentor.
Nice. I liked how you emphasize the importance of a good advisor. It's like something that we put like under the rug because you don't see it until the first day that you come and start working on. And you're going to spend so much time with this person. You almost need to like you have a relationship with this person that you need to be good.
Sure.
They're going to be your like literary advisor, but they're also going to help you with like challenges inevitably that will come in your personal life and stuff like that. So it's nice that you mentioned about it. Uh, but now just going a little bit on the same topic, but a little bit back to one of the times that you mentioned, like when you came to the US for masters, and masters is a place where you generally don't get assigned advisors like research advisors or stuff. Like you try to dabble things on your own. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the inevitable challenges of coming away from home, being in the US, like trying to take care of yourself, learning to cook, and like what were the things that helped you, especially during those times? What are the goods? What are the bads? And what did you learn during that time? If you can share some.
Sure.
Uh,
So yeah, when I was in my undergraduate, so the thing that I actually did not mention is that my home was in Chennai, and I used to go to my home every weekend without any possibility of missing it. So I was that close to being always close to home. I didn't want to miss a single chance of not being there because I was very bad at eating food that's outside. I was very picky on what I eat. I was very picky on where I do things and all of those things. And my undergraduate kind of helped me to uh, help me be stand on my own in that sense. But still, I wasn't completely ready for going out of the way to such a place where I'm thousands of miles away from my hometown, and I wouldn't be able to just go whenever I wish to. So it was definitely a very big challenge for me, and I thought it would be like too tough for me to uh, come here and be on my own. But fortunately, I had some people, like my sister was just 500 to 600 miles away from my college town. So though I wouldn't be able to visit her always, I would whenever I would want to, like, really want to visit my family members, like going to my sister's place has always helped me. But it was a bit of a task to get from that dependence of your family and stay on your own and do things on your own and take care of yourself. And even in terms of like money, like you have to be a little bit more responsible on like how you spend on things, or how you buy things. And one thing that actually came a good thing that came out of this was cooking, since it's pretty costly outside to buy stuff and get things, or like it's not that easy, especially when you're not earning anything. uh, Spending the money would be a very difficult task to do. So you tend to learn to cook for yourself, and then uh, your cooking skills will definitely improve when if you're doing masters or a PhD outside your country. I'm pretty sure on that. So that was one thing which was something that good that came out of this. And honestly speaking, it was not as difficult as I thought it would be to live on my own. One possible reason is because of the friends and the people you're surrounded with. So, as I said before, it's very important to have a good community of people who you could talk to. And because these are people who are also facing the same kind of issues. They are also outside their hometown. They have the same kind of things that they're going on. When you share these kinds of things, it would always be helpful for you to cope up with these kinds of stress. Especially you already be having stress from the academic life itself. So sharing these kinds of things would definitely be helpful, and that was kind of helpful to me also. Though I was not a very sharing person at that point of time, I was too shy to open myself at that point of time. But it was even the small things that I did really helped me to cope up with the situation.
Nice, very well said. I like completely 100% second to that. Like the experience was so similar. The challenges were like so real. It's like I feel like for Indians, like undergraduation is like so too pampered. Like because it's like our masters is where we actually become independent personally, financially, everything. So it's so true. And I can definitely attest to your cooking skills because one, I've learned so much, and two, I've enjoyed so much of your amazing dosa and adai and stuff like that.
And your
So
pasta too.
yeah, thanks for my pasta that you really liked. So yeah, so that's yeah, that's amazing to hear. It's good to like just share this like real challenges that people face, but it's not like the end of the world. It feels like that at that time, but at least talking
True.
back, it feels like it's okay. Not we came through fine. So
Yeah.
that's nice. So now a little bit like one other like a personal question. I know you shared this with me about this program called Vipassana, a 10-day retreat where you meditate and find some calm. So do you mind sharing something about like some programs like this that and how it helped you, or like what was your experience like, so that somebody can like try to do that when they're here?
Sure. So it's a funny story about Vipassana. I actually did not exactly know the essence of this specific retreat. So the main reason why I wanted to join Vipassana was that my friend was saying that it's good, and that he was without phone or any kind of communication with anyone for 10 days. And I was really fascinated whether is that something that I would be able to pull off. And that was one of the main sole reason I actually went into this 10-day retreat. And I didn't think much about what would be the repercussions of this. But the thing was, this almost at the end of the first day, where in Vipassana, basically what happens is that you would give off all your phones to them. You wouldn't be able to communicate to anyone outside, and you have this I actually went in Massachusetts. There are like multiple places in the US. I think it's there in India too. So there you have it in multiple places, and you go to this. I went in Massachusetts in this specific place, which was really wonderful location, surrounded by forest and forest trails and stuff. um, but the thing is, they would you would be basically taken off all your communications to outside world, and you would also stop talking to people who are over there. So you are just left with yourself and your own thoughts. And this is basically for the 10 days. And they had a very fixed schedule where you wake up at 4, you have your breakfast, and then you go for a meditation routine, and then you come back, you have your lunch at 11, and then you again go for a meditation routine, and then you are given some kind of fruits and tea or milk in the evening around 5 o'clock, and that's it, no dinner. uh, so you do another meditation routine, and then you go back to sleep at 9, so you have to sleep by 9, and you again wake up at 4. So this was like a fixed routine, and it was honestly pretty hard to, especially all of a sudden, leave everything that you have been in contact with. Like probably phones have become part and parcel of our life. We just use it every time. We can't think about a world without the phone. And this experience kind of gave me an idea of how much I'm dependent on my phone and other gadgets that I have. And honestly speaking, after the first day, I was like, why did I even choose this? Like, why did I even come into this? But the thing is, sticking into it for 10 days really helped me, because as I said before, during my masters, it was not a really good time for me. And this was actually at the end of my masters that I went. Once I graduated from my masters, I already got my PhD position, so I had a gap of like, say, 3 or 4 months, and it was during that time I thought I should probably go to this. So I just had finished crossing my bad path, and what this vipassana actually does is, you don't need to believe in any of religion or any gods or any specific person or cult. But the thing is, one thing that probably worked over there is that being left alone for 10 days with yourself and your own thoughts. That is something I feel like people should be able to do often. What happens is that when you're left with your own thoughts, the very deep rooted things that affected you over your life kind of comes out, and you tend to feel that. And once you feel that, it just it just vanishes off. It's just like a way to cleanse your mind. So you kind of get this way where you these deep rooted thoughts that are just buried deep under in your memory or somewhere, just comes out, and then you feel them, and then that just vanishes off. So this is kind of a way to cleanse in your mind, I feel. The thing is, the meditation in itself is pretty simple. You just feel what's happening on your body. So for instance, all you have to do is just meditate, and by meditation, what I mean is that you have to just observe the breathing pattern of basically a breathing pattern. That's one thing that you observe, and then slowly you start observing other things that happen on your body. So for instance, you feel this kind of itch that keeps coming whenever you're just simply sitting. You kind of feel that itch is there, right? The immediate reaction for us is to just go and scratch that place. But one thing that these people said is that just observe the itch. And I did do that, and what happened was, I saw that the itch was there, and it was very tough to kind of not scratch. But if you just control that reflexive action, you'd see that the itch gradually just goes off, and then it just vanishes off. So in a more deeper sense, these itch are, you can think of these itch are superficial memories on your body. And I'm probably talking too much of philosophy now, so
it's totally
mind
cool.
that.
It's in
So
the
you
right
can,
right space for talking about that.
so you can think of these scratches as superficial memories that you have created on a daily basis. And in a similar essence, these deep rooted thoughts over over the days of over the 10 days, it comes out of your body, and it kind of gives you that same effect of this itch. at that point of time you should not react to that memory. Just keep observing that, and that the memory just vanishes off, just how this scratch vanishes off, this itch feeling vanishes off. So that is something that I was really taken aback, because around the 6th or 7th day, I kind of got this feeling where I was really depressed. I don't know. I had no reason to be depressed. It was to a feeling where I felt like crying, and I had no reason like why I was feeling this. It was just there. And the reason I believe is that it was probably the last 3 years of what happened in my life at that point of time, where a lot of things went on, and it's probably not, I did not have a closure for everything. It just got suppressed, and then I got my PhD position, and it's just cut off. So that's probably just stayed as a deep rooted memory inside me. So when I did this around the 6th or 7th day, that depressed feeling just came out of me, and I really felt that going through me, and I didn't know what was happening. But the thing was, at that point of time, I remember the things that they were saying, and I thought that, okay, I should not probably react to this, I should not cry to this, rather just let's do the meditation process and just see it, just observe it, observe the memory as it is, like not just react, just keep it at bay. By observing, it's kind of difficult to express what it is exactly. By observing, it's something that you should probably experience for yourself by going to a Vipassana. But you observe this feeling, and then I saw it vanish away, and then there was a surge of happiness. Like, I knew that after that day, I was like, okay, it felt so light. Like, I felt emotionally so light, and felt so nice that uh, I just wanted to tell it to someone that I experienced this thing. But being there were still 3 days that I should not talk to anyone about this, like talk to anyone in general. In that, it was kind of difficult to keep it within myself. But I would definitely say it is one of an experience for everyone to try Vipassana. Because I mean, irrespective of what you believe in or what you don't believe in, the very fact that you are put alone with your own thoughts for 10 days is something that everyone should try once in a while to flush out your bad feelings and memories.
Nice. Uh, this is really nice to hear. Thanks for first for being like open about your personal experience. It's almost like therapy. I see like all of your deep-rooted problems are just coming out. So it's really nice. Yeah, it's also good to just like share like what are the options that we have that like people think like we might not have like good meditation opportunities in the US.
And the
It's like
thing is,
very Indian or something.
this is like completely free as well, so you don't need to pay anything.
Mm,
The thing is that people who have already experienced or been part of this retreat, if they really like the place, they usually come and volunteer as workers. So it's
mm,
actually completely volunteer based. So there's no one getting paid in this. So people who have already done this 10-day retreat would be able to volunteer. Only those people can volunteer. So you see that the people who I actually interacted with some of the people who volunteered, and I asked their experiences, like why they came into this volunteering and things. And I mean, the general notion was that it helped them a lot in terms of their own experiences in their lives, this 10-day retreat, and they wanted to contribute to this program because it helped them a lot. And since it's free, like people wanted this to continue so that other people can experience the same thing. So they wanted to come, and so
mm.
they're right from cooking food to cleaning the place to washing clothes or doing all those kinds of things. There are people who volunteer for doing such things over there. So it's a completely volunteer based thing. And if you are if you really felt that it helped you, they do accept donations. So that's there. So but yeah,
Nice.
it's not necessary to give any money to them. It's just all volunteer based work.
Nice, really nice for like sharing completely what this is out and out. And I really wanted to talk about this one quote that came into my mind by Pascal. He says that all of men's miseries derive from not being able to sit in a quiet room alone. I feel like that's exactly what
That's
the
exactly
entire
what this is.
experience
Yeah.
is making us do. Amazing, sweet. So now getting into a little bit about your love for music, like for people who don't know, like you play the guitar, you play the piano, keyboard, you play mouth organ, you sing. So music is like running in your blood and veins. So can you just share about like what is music to you? Like, is it just a casual relationship or does it help you in any way? How is music and your relationship?
Music is actually like, it's kind of my place, my safe haven, I would say. Like, if anything anything that's happening in my life, I know music always stays with me, and I just go towards that whenever I feel myself lonely or depressed or like bored or anything that is like not an unpleasant effect or feeling that I have. Music is just like a one for all answer kind of thing. So I mean, I especially realized this. I don't know if I told you as well about this. You can probably cut this out if you want to, but
Don't worry about it.
but the thing is, do you remember I had this bad trip while doing weed?
Yeah, yeah.
So one thing that helped me cope up with my bad trip was music at that point of time. So I started singing. The moment I started singing, I was able to just weed away all those bad feelings that were coming into my mind. So that is when I actually realized that how much music is being part of my day-to-day process, like how much is actually helping me from getting out of negative feelings or emotions. So yeah, I would say I don't know what I would have been without music. So it's something that's part and parcel of my life. I can't separate it from myself.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah. Yeah, this is completely open conversation. I also had a question about like, we had these deep night conversations, which are like some of the best, both when we were high and when we were not high. We used to have like amazing conversations, which I really, really miss. But that's amazing. I would ask you to sing for like a 30-second, if you don't mind. 30
I
second,
would never
any of
say
your
no for
favorite.
singing.
Nice. Just let the people of the world listen to you for like a quick small snippet of one of your favorite
Is
songs.
there any specific song you want me to sing?
If you ask me, I would like you to sing the Kanmani song from the Kamal Hassan movie.
Okay, I can
Kanmani
sing that.
Anbodu song. Yeah.
உண்டான காயம் எங்கும் தன்னாலே ஆறி போன மாயம் என்ன பொன்மானே பொன்மானே எந்த காயமான போதும் என்னே நீ தாங்கிக் கொள்ளும் உந்தன் மேனி தாங்காது செந்தேனே எந்த காயம் என்னவென்று சொல்லாமல் ஏங்க ஏங்க அழுகை வந்தது எந்தன் சோகம் உன்னை தாக்கும் என்றெண்ணும் போது வந்த அழுகை நின்றது மனிதன் உணர்ந்து கொள்ள இது மனித காதல் அல்ல அதையும் தாண்டி புனிதமானது கண்மணி அன்போடு காதலன் நான் எழுதும் கடிதமே பொன்மணி உன் வீட்டில் சௌக்கியமா நான் இங்கு சௌக்கியமே.
Amazing. Thanks for being very spontaneous and singing for me. One of my favorite songs. Like I said in the beginning, like you are almost like my brother from another mother. Like all the
Thank
favorite
you for
Ilayaraja,
saying that.
Ilayaraja songs, A.R. Rahman songs, so many shared interests. It's been such a pleasure talking so far. We're almost coming to the end, wrapping things up. So I will put you out of your misery soon.
This has been great talking to you. It's been like opening myself after a long time. I didn't know that I had such a story to tell, first of all, like, from the beginning to the end. In fact, even when you actually started with this, I was like, okay, what am I going to say? Like, is there anything that happened? And the way you actually put your questions forward, it was like really, it helped me think about like, actually what happened in my life over the last after I finished my undergrad. So yeah, thanks for this.
Absolutely, it's been my pleasure. But yet, I'm not yet leaving you. I have like few more nice questions.
Sure.
Because there's this other side of you, which is also very like like basically I'm going for your interest for like night sky and the outer space. Like you were the first person to like show me that we could see the Milky Way. I saw it, and you taught me that we are in the corner of the Milky Way, so we can see the entire Milky Way. So that was like an amazing experience. So I'm just where I'm going with this is like, what do you think is out there? Why do you have this interest for like the outer space? Just any fun take on what's the interest with this? And you are like, a fun fact is you're the only guy who I know who owns a telescope. So tell us a little bit about all this interest.
I mean, I think it's always been a fascination for me, like, what's out there, like why these things are there out, like, you have so many planets, so many galaxies, so many stars for no reason. It feels like it's for no reason, like, like in terms of reasoning, what I mean is that it, it's kind of very hard to explain this. Comes this kind of an existential question, like why we exist, kind of. So that is the kind of thing that actually makes it really curious for me, like if we are not here, if humans as a species, or if life as we know doesn't exist, like there is no point in all of this existing. We are, by point, what I mean is that we are trying to explore like what is outside there. If we do not exist, there is no there is no entity that would get to know the beauty of this entire place, this entire universe of its own. So in that sense, humanity is at a really crucial place where we can explore the beauty of this place. We have the capacity to do that, and the very fact that we are in such kind of a place creates a lot of fascination for me in terms of outer space. Like, like what exists out there. Are there people like us, thinking about the same kind of things outside over there, which is a question that has haunted humanity for a very long time, I guess.
Yeah.
But yes, so that kind of feeling has been there for me since childhood. So I one of the things I was really interested was in astronomy, like, about different planets, different stars that are there. So that fascination has never died, and I'm I would say, we are at the cusp of human technology, where eventually we will be starting to explore our neighboring systems so soon. And I'm really excited, where we would be going as a human race as whole in the near future, and that is something that will never stop fascinating me.
Nice answer. Yeah, that's like that totally resonates with me too. Like it's a little bit of an existential question, like what's the meaning, why we exist at all in this speck of this ever expanding universe.
Exactly. Yeah. Do you remember
So
the cup that I have? Universe explores itself.
yeah,
So that cup is kind of summarizes this entire feeling that I have. Like, like we are part of universe, and we are exploring universe itself. So it's like a circle, and we have the power or the capability, though we are so small in the grandeur of this entire universe. We are one of those specks which has the ability to understand the beauty of this entire cosmos. So that feeling is like something that really drives me.
yeah, nice, lovely take. So one last question in this area, very similar to the previous question, but it's like, you know, Elon Musk is like putting is all of his money on like exploring Mars, making us like interplanetary and stuff like that. But my take question is a little bit more bigger. What is like one area you think we should be spending more on, like as humans as a whole? Is it like outer space, or like deeper oceans, or like more into technology, sustainable energy, or equality of opportunity? Just like these are like things that I'm just putting out there that I just want to like pick your brain on. Like, what do you think is an area that we as a whole should be spending more time? I know we
I
should be doing on all of this, but something that you would do,
myself.
like you would want all of us to do, or like,
Okay.
you know, uh, if you were responsible, you would make people do spend more time in this
The
area
thing
as well.
is, all of these are like kind of equally important. So it is good that we as humans have so many people, around 8 billion people, I guess, around at this point of time.
Yeah,
It is
that's
good that
almost
we have.
nine. Mm.
Okay, so if it's 9, it's better, I guess.
Okay.
The thing is, since we have these many people, we have so much resources to allocate people to all these things that you just said. And there are people who are invested or fascinated in all of these problems as something that they want to solve. But I feel that none of these problems are important one over the other. For instance, like we do need to make sure that the energy that we use within earth is more sustainable, it's more environmental friendly, so that in the shorter term we don't harm ourselves in terms of creating better technology. But future, if you look at the long term future, it's not viable if human as a species need to exist uh, beyond earth or beyond this specific place. We need to explore other options, because earth is not going to remain here for a long time. We can remain for a longer time than earth if we do the things right. So exploring outside space, or even thinking about the threats that might come from outside space, like asteroids hitting us or something like that, which could make us extinct, go extinct. So these are things again that are pretty important for people to explore on. So, and the other one you said, exploring deeper oceans. So these are again important because you get to know what kind of life forms exist at different places, and that would kind of give you an idea of like what are the extremities of life that can exist. And you also kind of get an idea of like what are the extremities within earth itself that we can potentially use for our own species advantage, at the same time not destroy our surrounding and make it difficult on ourselves. So I would say all of these are equally important, and it's good that we have so many people that we can allocate our resources equally on all the directions. And if if you would ask me personally, if I was in the position of in charge, I would probably split the people equally among all these.
Okay. It's clear that your like curiosity is like it's not biased, so you want every direction to be like explored and probably be useful for us.
But if I
Nice.
want to explore, I would probably go towards space exploration. That would be
Space.
my.
Okay, nice. Wonderful. Sweet. So we have wrapped up our second major part. So that was great. Now, this part is very small. This is like, what are your future and long-term goals? You kind of hinted that it's a little bit there. You still don't know, but still, like just to give people idea of like what are the things that are options out there and what are you thinking about? Like the biggest thing that's like obviously out there is like, do you want to get into the industry or do you want to stay in academia? So if you can share like what are the opportunities after your PhD, what are you thinking about? Yeah, like I'm not old to you, like why you didn't do this or something. Just share your
Sure, sure.
thought
No, I could
process.
I could definitely go over the confusion that I currently have. So the thing is that when I actually joined PhD, I was more inclined towards going towards an industry. And the reason being that obviously it has more money coming in, and you don't need to worry much about setting up your own lab, or having to do grants and writing grants. Or I always felt like after a point, uh, being in academic would be like managing people rather than doing the actual research. Like for instance, managing your graduate students or managing people you're working with, than doing the actual research. So I was actually more inclined towards going to industry side, because I know that I would be working on a problem, and I just wanted to join a company that would be matching with my interests. But then off late, I've especially in the last few months after I went through a conference and interacted with people, uh, I'm kind of like have this idea that is being developed where I feel like I'll have more independence in terms of what I want to research. Like I don't have any specific constraint. Okay, the company wants this specific uh, product in this specific uh, item or specific product that they have. So basically, let's say that if someone's working on VR, So I don't want it to be something like where they are working on they're working on a specific module of VR, and then you get to improve that, and you kind of get I would still be doing the same kind of research I'm doing here, but the impact or the effect would be very small because it's just a part of a module or something like that, right? But if I'm going to be in an academic side, I would be able to work on actual problems like that might be of interest to me. It's not just the techniques or the methods that I'm using, but I'm invested in the problem as well, right? So and I would have the freedom to just take whatever I would want, like the any path that I would like within the problem. Like say if I'm doing something, I might be I can go in an exploratory way and say that okay, I can try this specific method and see if it works, and if it doesn't work, okay, it's fine, I can just go do another thing. So I have that freedom over there, but as I said before, it comes with its own cons of like having to write grants, manage people, teach people. I'm not too keen on teaching people. So if it's a one-on-one teaching, I'm fine, but if it's like going to be a group teaching, like teaching a group of a class or something, I don't know how much interested I am in that. So it has its own cons. But with industry, as I said again, you have a good pay, which is good. If the company's research matches with your interest, that's the ideal. But even then there is a possibility that you might be working on a problem statement that you're not too interested in, but you have the skills to help solve the problem. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you would basically be working with your skills on a problem that you're not too interested in. That might happen in an industry situation. But again, since I don't, as I said before, it's always good to have an internship experience. So if someone's doing masters, they should go for an internship. Since I don't have an internship experience as well, I don't know exactly what would be the uh, climate in an industry setup too. So that's something I'm going to do probably next year. I'm actually working on some of my skills so that it'll be easier for me to get some internships. So yes, so next year I'm planning to like get an idea so that I'll have some kind of an idea like how industries work, and how is that kind of a work environment, or the kind of work they do is something that is something I would be able to deal with, or like if even if the problem is not interesting to me, just using my skills, is that something that would help me? I mean, is that something that I would be fine with? So these are the things that I'm trying to explore with an internship next year, hopefully, if I get it. But yeah, there are these factors that I'm kind of like tearing myself apart with. So I'm still not exactly clear what is the right way for me. I talked to one of my friend during the conference, Puneet, basically.
Okay.
So I talked to him, and he kind of pushed me towards an academic side, and he gave me some lot of interesting thoughts to think about, like why academic side might be good. In terms of like as I said, the things that I mentioned to you was the things that he also told me. So yeah, I'm still grappling with the both these possible futures that can both be equally good. I don't know. One possibility, one thing with academic side is that it usually involves a little bit more harder work at the beginning, especially because you have to create your own funding. You might not get paid easily, and then you have to set up your own lab, so which is like a huge deal. It's not easy to set up your own lab, then get students and all those kinds of things happens, and you have to set up a name for yourself to do the things that you want. So even though you have the freedom in academic side, there is this initial stage which is going to be really tough. So I mean, it is, even when I'm talking about this now, I'm kind of confused, which would be the one that I would probably like. But yeah, these are the things that you would have to also probably think about when you make your own decision on this.
Okay. No, that's nice that you're just like laying out whatever you're thinking in your mind. You don't have a decision yet, but you're just like getting more data points and
Yeah.
just like waiting and deciding. I like the way you said, like definitely getting into the industry is like, um, money wise, it's going to pay better. But like you said, that constraint of being in a problem that you might not be excited in the long term is always challenging. But yeah, I kind of see you as like somebody who's having a lab working on some interesting problems, and maybe smoking weed in the side. It's totally like, yeah. Well, I've also seen that, like, yeah, I an industry where I can do some research, or an academic where I have some industry backing, seems to be like the best place to be. It's like a
Yeah,
utopia. You don't know if you can actually get it,
yeah.
but that's
Yeah,
cool.
there are options. Yeah, even I'm not sure if I've been exhaustive with what I've said, because I myself don't know yet what are the all options that are
Other
possible.
options, yeah.
So I'm still exploring on that. So maybe doing an internship, and maybe the coming year would be an eye opener, I believe, for me.
Sounds good. Sweet. That's lovely. We got a little bit of taste of what you're thinking about. Hopefully, I'll have a conversation again after a few years and like check in with you how things are. That's sweet. Now it's the last round, last section, the final five that I call. It's like a rapid fire, but I won't hold it on. Like, you can be as elaborate or as short you want. So here goes the five questions. So the first question is, who is one role model or person that you look up to in your life, if you
I
have
would
one?
I would say my sister.
Sister,
She,
nice.
I mean, the thing is, I can be elaborate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give us context.
Sure. So the thing is, I have seen her, being passionate about her own research. Probably, she doing a PhD was one of the reasons why I thought I want to do a PhD, because I felt it was too cool to, do your own research and get papers published and all those things. So, and even this is probably in the recent years, but ever since from childhood, like, she has taught me like how to deal with things, how to, like, she used to tell me, smoking cigarette causes cancer, the movie dialects that come. She used to keep telling me that, and that is kind of imbibed into me, that uh, I still have the fear that I had from my childhood days. So she has always been a role model to me, and I'm certain that if my sister had not gone for PhD, I don't know if I would have had the idea of thinking about a PhD during my undergraduate, and probably I wouldn't have taken this as my life path.
Nice. That's really nice to hear. A sibling who has been a role model and has guided you. That's really wonderful that you have somebody like that in your life. Nice. Okay. So the second question is, what is one habit that you have picked up in the recent years that has had a great impact in your life?
So how recent should this be?
It's a blur. It can be how, like, 1 year, one
Okay,
month, 5 years.
so I would say guitar was one habit that I picked, which was really has influenced a lot in my life, especially because I picked up guitar when I was doing my master's, during those times where things were not going right. I just found learning guitar as a way to cope up with all the other things that was going in my life, and and improving in guitar and achieving those small things, like learning a new song or getting to play something really good, was like these small boosts that pushed me, kept me sane when everything else was going insane around me.
Mm,
um, so I would say that I would in fact encourage anyone else who are, like, going through some tough times, to just try out new hobbies, something like that, so that would be that would be something that you could always rely upon. You have, if nothing else is working, that at least your hobby is working, so you can just go towards that and do that, and feel happy about yourself. So yeah, that was something that really helped
nice.
me.
Nice. Yeah. Seems like music and guitar especially has been like a friend for us a healer for you in the side. That's
Very
nice.
much.
Nice. Okay, the other question is, what is one habit that you would like to change or give up this year?
Hmm. I mean, this has been always there. I want to be more organized, which I've never been. I want to be a little bit more cleaner with my surroundings and stuff. I try my best, but usually after a point, I just give up and I'll be like, okay, just check this. I just do what I can. So
Hmm.
that's something that I want to inculcate within myself. Um, Other than that, yeah, it's just being organized. That's the
Cool.
main thing. Yeah,
Yeah. Like, yeah, not to put you on the spot, but yeah, it probably help you not losing your keys.
that is true. That is very true. I've lost my keys so many times now. You know that, right? I got a
Yeah, you have a
key.
system now, right? You have an
I have
AirTag.
a
Yeah,
I have a Samsung tag. Yeah, similar to our
nice.
tag. So now the key is not getting lost.
Good. At least you're coming up with smart systems for
Yeah,
that.
I can't solve this. I'll solve around it.
Yeah, that's cool. Good. Then the fourth question is, what is one area of your life you want to invest more in this year?
I've actually started doing this now, but I want to learn more about different neural network models that are coming out nowadays, and I also want to learn a little bit about the kind of work that other people do that are very interesting to me. So basically, there's this Center for Brains, Minds, and Machines in MIT,
Mm-hmm.
where they do these kinds of collaborative work between neuroscientists, psychologists, and computer scientists. So they have these talks that they given where they talk about their own research of what they're doing, and those seem to be really interesting to me. So I want to get to know more about their all these research that's going on, and I'm actually planning to expand my knowledge on that a little bit more this summer. The reason I'm doing this is because I feel like this might give an idea like what exactly is my interest point, like where I want to push myself more. So I want to do that, and also get a really good idea of the current neural network models, like in reinforcement learning, in GANs, in CNNs or transformers. And the reason for this is because this I feel would help me to get an internship, but the places that I want to get in. So I feel like I need to improve my knowledge on both these directions. That's something that I
Nice,
want to work on. Yeah.
nice. So keeping your curiosity alive and fueling it seems to be like the theme that I
Oh,
want.
and one more thing probably would be to continue doing my gym.
Jim. Okay, okay, nice, 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 nice. Physical health and intellectual curiosity. Very nice. Final question. This is a little bit different, but if you could have dinner with a dream guest of yours, who would it be, and what would you ask them?
A dream guest.
Yeah, could have with anybody in this world.
Well, during my childhood days, I was kind of very fascinated about uh, Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein.
Oh,
Could
okay.
I add two people?
Yeah, sure. You could add two people. You could add people who are dead. That's fine.
So basically, I mean, I haven't thought about this question of late in recent times, like, who I would really want to talk. This is probably like a little bit more deeper than the question that you asked me. I have to really think about who I want to talk to. But based on my childhood times, I would say I really want to get big brains of Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein.
Hmm. So are you going to ask, did the apple really fall on your head, or are you going to ask something
No,
else?
I don't want to get the pick their minds on, like, their thought process, like, how they went about these things, the the discoveries that they made. I feel it's really fascinating that, the kind of experiments that they did at that point of time to come to the conclusions that they came in their, work. And it's really a, a good opportunity to, see, like, how people in general, like, think about such problems, because these problems are have been eluding the humans of at different eras, and these people came up with solutions to that, which is like very fascinating to me, like, what were the thought process.
Nice. So yeah, scientists and physicists. Nice, very nice. Sweet, Shravan. Thank you for taking this time and sitting with me for this interview. I really love learning so many aspects of you which I didn't know before, and I like the way you clearly answered like all of my questions. So thanks for taking this time. Is there something you would like to share before we wrap up this interview?
It was really a nice conversation having with you. As I said before, I did not expect how this was going to go, because you showed me that you have this many number of questions, and I was like, okay, what am I even going to answer? But these questions were really great, and I'm really happy that you're doing something like this. Exploring these kinds of things and helping people who are trying to find their own foot in this world. And I'm pretty sure experience of ourselves would be a good way to get to give them a decision view, like how people make their own decisions, like how it'll help them make their own informed decisions, I feel. So I'm really happy that you're doing this, and your questions were really great. And really thank you for actually bringing up this. I didn't expect that it will go this nice when we really started this, and it really helped me to like think back on my own stuff that I did, and it was kind of nice to discuss the things that happened to me with a close friend like you. It was really fun doing this.
Thank you for those kind words. Yes, that is the aim, like to bring out these stories. And hopefully somebody out there finds it useful. And thank you for supporting me on my crazy and different projects. So thank you once again.
Sure.
Sweet. Take care. Bye.
Okay, bye.